Welcome to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast, your trusted source for simple strategies to improve your mental and physical fitness. Throughout this podcast, we will discuss how you can manage your mental health by practicing mental fitness, building emotional resilience and curiosity to handle life's challenges. We'll also highlight the crucial link between physical fitness and your overall mental well-being. My name is DJ Ligori, and I want you to realize that you are not alone with this challenge. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and welcome to today's episode. All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. My name is DJ Ligori, and we are officially on episode number 100. We have been consistent for 100 weeks, so that is really cool. I'm really proud of myself. I'm the only one who really does this for the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. I'm really excited and proud of Acres of Diamonds, our parent company. We're moving along in a lot of our business initiatives, and things have been going really great and fantastic lately. So officially hit 100 episodes today. And today what I want to talk about is I want to talk about a quote actually that I think is super valuable, and I think what my goal is, I kind of want to break this down in a way that almost redefines just how powerful this quote can be. And this quote was actually said to me by a friend of mine, and she said, "Our effects on others are not always linear." And I have to admit, when I had initially heard this, I didn't fully understand it. Yet, upon a deeper dive into it, I realized just how powerful that statement is. Our effects on others are not always linear. And the important thing to realize here is we never necessarily know how we may help someone. We may say something, do something, or help them in some way that they may never actually tell us about, right? So we may never truly know if we've actually helped someone. And the important thing to realize here is that every single one of us, we all have challenges in our life. We all have insecurities. We all have fears. We all have embarrassing moments. We all have things in our lives that we may not necessarily want to look at and to shine a light on. And then somebody might come along and give us a little compliment or help us with something or change our perspective, and it completely changes our lives forever. And we may not have the courage or maybe even necessarily be aware to thank them and to say, hey, listen, you helped me so much in this area of my life, and here's how, right? So kind of connecting it back to this quote, our effects on others are not always linear. We may not know exactly how we could have helped somebody or exactly know if we did help somebody. And so this is very similar to the idea behind the butterfly effect. And the butterfly effect, if you're not familiar with it, is basically something really small happens that ends up producing this super large outcome. And what I want to do today is I want to give two examples of how this quote kind of has applied to my life where somebody has truly helped me, and in a way where I kind of accidentally help somebody else. And the really interesting thing about this is when we do this, when we give a quick compliment, or if somebody else gives a compliment to us, sometimes it happens and we're not even aware of it, right? And so what I want to do today is I want to just outline how this looks and how this might feel, so then when it does happen, we're aware of it and we kind of understand what's going on. And so the first kind of example that I wanted to give was when I was in college. I was playing college football, and we had just had a huge win, and I was running off the field, and one of my teammates was talking to this guy. I didn't know who this guy was, and I ran up to him and I said, "Hey, you look a lot like that guy." And I realized that it was probably his father. They looked so much alike. And they both laughed, and because I didn't really know the father that well, and I shook his hand, I introduced myself, and we had like this really cool moment, just kind of reminiscing about the game. We just had a great win, and I basically said, hey, I'll catch you guys later, and I ran into the locker room and didn't necessarily think that much of it. And that night we were at a party, and I remember sitting there, and the young man who I basically ran up to and complimented him and his dad on accident, he walked up to me and he's like, hey, could I talk to you for a sec? I have something I want to bring up to you. And initially I was like, uh-oh, what's wrong? Right? What's the problem here? And so he kind of pulled me aside and he was like, hey, I wanted to say thank you. And I didn't really know why he was saying thank you. And he basically said, he goes, me and my dad have been struggling a little bit with our relationship and like some personal things in our lives. And when you said that today, it was like this small connection that like I was his son and he was my dad. And like after you had ran into the locker room, like we gave each other a hug, we got like a little emotional, and he's like, and we've been talking the whole rest of the day and things have been fantastic. He's like, it's been the best that it's been in a while. And he's like, and I just wanted to say thank you. He's like, I think you kind of kickstarted that. And I was sitting there like, holy cow, I was not expecting that to come out of that comment that I made to him. I thought it was kind of just like a funny little joke, but it ended up being this really positive effect in this really great outcome. And for the remainder of the football season, I remembered seeing him and his dad, and they kind of rebuilt this relationship. And I was super grateful that he allowed me to know that I had a positive impact on him in a way that I really wasn't planning on doing. And so that's, I think, a really cool example of how a quick little compliment, a quick little gesture can have such a great effect on somebody. And just this weekend, this actually happened to me. I was with a business colleague. We were having a meeting and we were talking about some business that we're working on in a specific space. And she mentioned to me, she complimented me, and she said that I did such an eloquent job of explaining how mental fitness can be beneficial to a team, to an organization, and how it can help people ultimately live a stronger life, live a life of more emotional regulation, live a life of more curiosity, more clarity, more confidence. And she gave me just this beautiful compliment. And I sat there and I was like almost emotional. And I said thank you back to her, and I was super appreciative and grateful that she had said that. And I remembered the rest of the day and even the rest of the weekend, and even leading up to me making this podcast right now, I changed. My confidence in myself changed a little bit, or elevated a little bit, and it was because of what she said. And she may never actually know that, even though I did thank her. All right, I did, I was very appreciative of it. And you know what? After this podcast, I'm actually going to shoot her an email thanking her again, just because it was super important to me. And it's kind of like that butterfly effect, right? It was just something small that she had done that ended up having this much larger outcome and effect on me, where it helped me increase my confidence, right? And confidence is something that is super important to me. It's something that I'd struggled with earlier, and I think I'm getting better at it moving forward. But it's those little things, those little moments of like almost validation, even though I like to try as hard as I can to internally validate myself. That external validation is sometimes pretty cool. It sometimes feels good. And so that's kind of the opposite side of that positive, of this quote, right? Our effects on others are not always linear. I was on the receiving side of that quote. And so to kind of connect this to the concept of mental fitness, I once saw this guy, Brad Lay, I believe his name is, and I've mentioned him a couple times. He was once saying, he had this quick Instagram video. He said, if you want to make a really good impact, a really positive impact on somebody in a very short amount of time, he said, give them a quick, genuine compliment. He said, comment on their personality, comment on a characteristic of them, comment on a physical feature, on their shoes, on their clothes, on their smile, and make it genuine. But don't make it to the point where you're completely, overanalyzing the person, right? Just make it a quick thing. And I actually think my friends and I do a great job of this. We'll see somebody and we'll make a comment about their muscles, right? How big they look and how strong they look. And people seem to really like that. And it's funny, but yet we're being serious in a way. And so how this really connects to mental fitness is when you go and give someone this quick little compliment, this quick little gesture, whatever it may be, what you're doing is you're changing both your state and the person that you're talking to. You're changing your state from maybe you were negative, or maybe you were neutral, maybe you were even positive, but you're adding in more positivity. you're adding in an even more of a stronger state. And what ends up happening is we have this thing in our brain called the reticular activating system. We call it the RAS for short. The RAS is basically the mechanism in charge of finding evidence and information to support what we believe, right, and what's going on. So if we change our state and find these small little compliments, these small little gestures, we're going to end up finding more evidence, finding more information to support the way that we feel. So what we're doing is we're almost priming our brain to look for good, not only to look for good in other people, but what ends up happening is you're going to start to look for good in yourself. Because once you start doing this to other people, you're like, I actually kind of feel really good giving these compliments, giving these genuine gestures. And now it's actually starting to have an effect on me. So your state starts to change. And mental fitness is really about our ability to handle challenge in our life, whether it's personal challenge or professional challenge. But ultimately, the state that you approach that challenge in is going to have a huge effect on the results that you get regarding how am I actually going to handle this challenge moving forward. So if you approach challenges from a stronger, more powerful state, maybe a state of gratitude, maybe a state of service, right? Depending upon those little moments that you have with people or even those little moments that you're starting to have with yourselves, you are going to start achieving more of the results you want in these challenges because you're approaching them from a stronger state, right? So your mental fitness is going to be more primed. You're going to be more ready. You're going to be more suited to handle these challenges based upon the state that you're in, right? And it's as simple as these little compliments, right? These little gestures, these little acts of companionships, these little acts of love, care, and support. Because remember, we don't know what everybody's going through, right? And it connects so nicely back to this quote, right? Our effects on others are not always linear. We do not know how we may positively help that person, but it'll never happen if we don't at least give it a chance, right? So let's think about that, okay? That's a wrap for today's episode. I kind of blacked out a little bit going through all that. I hope that it provided a little bit of value to you. I hope that it can help you kind of change the way that you have those quick little interactions with people you know and maybe even people you don't know. It's a great way to kind of get a conversation started and get to know somebody a little bit better. So thank you everybody so much for taking time to tune in to today's 100th episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. Everybody have a great week. We will talk to you guys soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. If you received something interesting from today's episode, we would kindly appreciate if you could leave us a rating or a review, or even share this podcast with someone you believe needs to hear its message. The Libraries and Weight Rooms brand is a division of our parent company, Acres of Diamonds, where we are on a mission to end mental suffering through mental fitness. If you would like to learn more about our mission and support this cause, please visit our website at www.youracresofdiamonds.com. Thank you again for listening to today's episode. We know you are busy and we truly appreciate you tuning in. And remember, humans were designed to be incredible. Every human has greatness within, and you are the answer to rediscovering that greatness. Take care, keep leading, and we will talk to you soon.